Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, is a neurobiological disorder that is believed to be caused by the malfunctioning of neurotransmitters, which are the brain's chemical messengers. This inefficiency in the frontal lobe causes the brain to be less active on thinking tasks. It can normally be noticed in preschool or early grades and affects between 5 to 12% of people, or about 1 to 2 students in every classroom. ADHD can be organized into two symptom clusters. They are, first, hyperactive and impulsive symptoms. First being hyperactive, so the difficulty in regulating one's activity level, which includes fidgeting, shifting, moving around, running around, difficulty staying seated, and then impulsivity, which is a tendency to act before thinking about consequences, and having trouble controlling your behavioral reflex, blurting out answers, things like that. The second cluster are inattention symptoms. Inattention refers to difficulty attending to the task at hand, for example, frequent daydreaming, or easily being sidetracked by what's going on around you, demonstrated in the classroom by careless mistakes or not following through in directions. Research has shown that academic performance tends to be weaker among those students with the inattention symptoms, the second cluster of symptoms we just mentioned, as they have difficulty applying focus to academic tasks, which is then reflected poorly in their grades. On the other hand, children with the hyperactive impulsive symptoms may do well academically, but tend to demonstrate more disruptive behaviors stemming from their high energy hyperactiveness, which may cause their teacher more headaches from a classroom management perspective. Another key characteristic that is important for teachers to know is that ADHD is less noticeable in girls. Girls with ADHD typically don't act out in the classroom as much as their boy counterparts, and therefore aren't referred to get tested as often as boys are. As a result, more boys are diagnosed as a ratio of 3 boys to 1 girl. While the common symptoms we just discussed tend to negatively affect academic performance, there are also many traits associated with ADHD that manifest positively in the classroom. First being creativity. Students with ADHD flourish at thinking outside the box, brainstorming, and finding creative solutions to problems. Second, kids with ADHD have high levels of energy and enthusiasm. When their attention is captured by something that interests them, they will be highly driven to achieve it, which is great if it can be harnessed properly in the classroom. And lastly, they have a quick mind. They can think on their feet, quickly absorb information, and multitask with ease. Their minds thrive on stimulation. Some suggestions for teachers in terms of educational approach. Since students with ADHD tend to have great amounts of energy and creativity, they function best with activities that go beyond just simply memorizing monotonous facts and info. Rather, it's ideal for teachers to incorporate activities that call on higher order thinking skills like application, creating, synthesizing, that will occupy their active minds. They need to be challenged with engaging activities so that their mind and energy is less likely to lead them off task. Another study showed that teaching students multi-component reading comprehension strategies were shown to improve their recall, reinforcing the idea that they need tasks that demand high levels of application to keep them stimulated. In terms of educational placement suggestions, as noted above, students with ADHD do not lack the ability to perform academic tasks well. They simply just struggle to focus their minds on the tasks. From what we have learned through various modules this semester, I believe that any service or accommodation that can be used to reduce distractions and increase focus would be beneficial. These could include things like wearing headphones in class that block out noise, giving students a special corner workspace where they can go to separate themselves and work independently. And during tests that are time sensitive, it might be beneficial to give students a place, a more quiet, isolated room that they can allow extra time for tests. All of those suggestions could be effective because they target the core challenges that students with ADHD face, which is minimizing possible distractions that divert their attention elsewhere and putting them in an environment that fosters focus. Lastly, a 1995 study found that the general consensus among ADHD experts is that a multimodal team approach is the most effective in treating and educating teens with ADHD. This means there needs to be constant communication between teachers who share ideas and information as they have regular contact with that student. Since ADHD can be diagnosed when students are quite young, if I was teaching a class of young students, a picture book that I would use to introduce the discussion is Where My Mind Goes During Science Class by Barbara Esham. This book revolves around a young student named Emily who is smart but has trouble focusing in class. Her teacher realizes that she comes up with brilliantly creative things when she's distracted. And I think it would be a good book that shines a positive light on students with ADHD, as there's oftentimes a stigma associated with having a quote-unquote disability, especially among young kids. A website that I found that has many valuable resources for parents is smartkidswithld.org, LD standing for learning disabilities. One of the learning disabilities it focuses on is ADHD, and many of the articles and information is specifically addressed to parents on the website. There is first and foremost an overview of ADHD, which lists the most important things to know, like causes and signs and symptoms. But then there are also plenty of other related links and articles at the bottom, specifically addressed for parents, including articles called Evaluating Your Child for ADHD, Increasing the Odds of Success for Your Child with ADHD, and a comprehensive strategy on treating ADHD, and many more. This would be a great resource for parents who are hoping to help their child with ADHD strive in the classroom, as well as teachers who teach students with the condition. That concludes my presentation on ADHD. I hope you learned a lot about the condition, the characteristics that go along with it, the inattention, the hyperactiveness, and realize that it can be a great thing. Kids with ADHD can thrive in the classroom. Thank you for listening.